After a long day of school, Michael gets home, sits at his desk, takes out his pens and notebook, and gets ready to watch YouTube the next 2 hours. So that was what a lot of my days looked like. Every day I'll get back from school, I'll be so tired, not only from all the classes, but also from the 1-hour train ride it took to get home. And I don't wake up extremely early, so the afternoon and the evening is the only time where I had any chance to get any work done. So this is how I managed to still study, even when I'm tired.
Scary thoughts in my head, my mind racing. Keep on looking back, even though I made it. But I can go far when I'm feeling weighted.
First thing we need to address is how not to be tired, because if I got straight into work after 8 hours of classes, I would feel pretty burnt out. But at the same time, I didn't find it helpful to go straight into relax mode, like watching YouTube, because it just becomes hard to do any sort of work afterwards. And so if I was feeling tired, here are 3 things that I would do, and they're 3 E's. Exercise, eat, and shower. The exercise doesn't need to be long or intense, it can just be a walk. And for eating, I just try and make sure that it's light, because I actually find it easier to study if I'm slightly hungry than very full. And showering works to wash away your pain, but also research shows that it can give you a boost of motivation. And I won't go into too much detail for the research in this area because I'm tired, ironic, but it's also something that most of us can probably relate to, unless you don't shower. And I just wanted to cover some other tips and my personal take on them. So studying at the library compared to studying at home, personally, I don't find too much of a difference between the two. Yes, it's good to change up your environment here and there, but ultimately it does come down to just personal preference. Another common tip is taking a power nap. Since I know I'll probably just wake up the next day, this is not something that I personally use, but I do know some people that are just naturally gifted at sleeping, so this might work for you. There are 3 things that I do to motivate myself to study even when I'm tired. And just to give you some context, last semester in uni was very hectic to say the least, and this was mainly because there was a lot of social events and parties that started at like 10 and went on to the next morning. So as you could probably tell, my sleep schedule was kind of, and so I would usually try and get some study in beforehand, so before the events, because otherwise it's that or studying in the morning at like 3 a.m, which, trust me, is not fun. So to get into that focus state quickly, I first like to listen to music with noise cancelling headphones. Second tip, to build momentum and just to really get past that tiredness, I like to do low energy tasks and have short study times. In other words, begin by doing things that are relatively easy to you and are quick to finish. For example, a set of multiple choice questions that you can do in 10 minutes is probably a good thing to start with as opposed to an entire essay. But if you do have a complex task like an essay due, then I find it helpful to break it down into smaller segments. So for example, you could spend 10 minutes on the planning, 10 minutes on the research, 10 minutes on the introduction essay. But basically just have it in smaller chunks so it doesn't seem that daunting to start. And that is honestly one of the biggest secrets to success. Getting started. An object at rest will remain at rest unless acted by an unbalanced force. So relating this back to studying, what this means is that we're basically going to continue procrastinating until we overcome that initial discomfort of starting. But if we keep the discomfort small by doing small and easy tasks, then it's going to be quite easy to get that ball rolling and it'll be much easier to continue from that point. So the main takeaway here is to just tell yourself, I am going to study for 2 minutes. Yes, 2 minutes might sound short, but it's very easy to build momentum from there. And final tip that I've been using a lot recently is using AI tools like ChatGPT. This is basically a chatbot that can answer your questions and much more. I have a more detailed video about this if you're interested, but just to summarize some of the key points that it can do, here they are. So first, it can act as a bit of a private tutor in a sense. So if you don't understand a concept, you can just ask it questions until it makes sense. Now, I personally think it does a very good job at this. Of course, you need to verify the information in some cases, but overall it does lay a very solid framework to work off of. If I have readings to do, like a reading from a textbook, I usually just ask the bot to summarize it for me. If I have to do some note taking, of course you can use this to help you take notes, but more importantly, it can help explain concepts as I mentioned before. And finally, if you need practice exams or questions, you can ask it to generate these questions and answers based on your notes. And this alone has already saved me hours of studying already. Alright, now let's talk about some more long-term solutions to feeling tired when you're studying. And you might think that the solution to not being tired is by having a good sleep schedule, eating well, etc. And that definitely is the case, but this video is more of a realistic take on what can happen. Because there are times where you might feel tired, but you still need to get the work done, even if you don't feel like it. And I just want to clarify that there's a difference between feeling tired and actually tired. And the way to solve this type of tiredness is by having a routine. For example, it's just like brushing your teeth. Even if we're feeling extremely tired, it's still something that we normally do because we've trained ourselves to have this in our daily routine. And it's the same logic with studying. So every day after school, I would aim to do at least 1 hour of work, regardless how I was feeling. And this basically allowed me to build that consistency. So regardless how I was feeling, how tired I was feeling, I would still be able to get work done. So after you get this into your routine, it becomes extremely cemented. Alright, so that is how I studied even when I was tired. And as we speak, I am editing this video, so for those in the future, hope that was a helpful video, and I'll see you in the next one.